After a lot of anticipation, I recently watched The Flash. And although I had a good time, I was left with an unmistakable hollow feeling. I know a lot of people are throwing around the term superhero fatigue, and I don't disagree with that entirely, but I humbly submit
that feels like an oversimplification.
Let me be clear, before digging into this further, the fact that I had a good time watching The Flash and a lot of the Phase 4 Marvel movies, objective obtained. Popcorn fun flick fair checkmark ticked. The problem comes from the fact that over the last 18 years, we've sporadically gotten much more than that, and we've seen what these movies and shows could become. So don't take this as a complaint so much as a longing. I've done some soul searching, and I don't think that I have superhero fatigue. I think I have scope fatigue. It's the inherent nature into launching into full universes like Marvel did when they broke the mold with Iron Man and slowly built up their roster before teaming up everybody in 2012's The Avengers. I can't begin to describe how wondrous that moment was when it happened. I saw it in theaters with my friends as part of a multi-film marathon that dove into each individual movie before that last epic team-up. But where to go from there? Well, the answer is obvious. The same thing, but bigger, grounder, louder, more. More characters, more effects, more stakes. And to Marvel's credit, aside from a few slip-ups, they achieved that, finalizing their multi-story threads in Avengers Endgame. There's a big part of me in hindsight that feels like maybe that should have been the end of it. I don't know, perhaps not, but I do think the scope should have shifted instead of continuing the bigger, grander, louder, more mantra. DC has been doing its best to claw its way into a superhero cinematic universe without, earning it through thoughtful storytelling and carefully mapped out character arcs, but despite more falls than stride, they've largely kept moving forward. Now we're into multiverse territory, and things just feel a bit messy and soulless. With proper writing, reverence for characters, a strong sense of tone, finding that balance between self-aware levity and somber character study, films like the two animated Spider-Verse movies show that it is possible to deliver solid quality multiverse results. However, the further this goes on, the more steep that precipice looms and the more that edge being walked narrows. Because bigger, grander, louder, more does have an upper limit before you're completely sacrificing any semblance of story to spectacle alone. And the multiverse is one of the best examples of kicking that concept into full overdrive. Now, all of a sudden, we are presented with every opportunity possible. We started with the city being threatened, then the world, then the universe, and now all infinite universes. Bigger, grander, louder, more. With the multiverse, anything can happen. From righting the wrongs of the cinematic past for both the characters and the filmmakers, to fully submerging the audience face first into a baptism fountain of fan service. And with that, all tension, conflict, and audience-relatable stakes have flown out the window, and we may enjoy the popcorn spectacle, but there's no longer the emotional resonance we have experienced in the past. Duck Amuck rears its head again. I addressed this in a video I made, Why Oculus Almost Worked But Didn't, directed at the Mike Flanagan horror film. When time and space get put on the butcher block for the audience, some measure of grounding has to happen. Otherwise, it's just like Bugs Bunny fucking with Daffy Duck in the 1953 Looney Tunes classic Duck Amuck. Any conflict can be undone by the writer just chalking up a solution from the multiverse. Any villain can be defeated in a heartbeat by tapping into a universe with a solution. And film's attempts at injecting irreversible consequences to multiversal fuckery tend to just add to the problem between filmmakers and audiences by providing so much of a mess that the notion of undoing what has been done seems impossible. The pee is in the pool and there's no getting it out. So now our characters are trapped forever in their own mess with callback actors and key roles and evil embedded into their fucking foreheads. Either way, there's a lack of possibility for satisfying resolution. Rick and Morty, toxic fandom aside, addresses this well. If the multiverse exists and literally anything is possible, then nothing actually matters. And once that conclusion is reached, what's the point of anything? This holds true for characters as well as the audience. Everything Everywhere All at Once also addresses this and lays the groundwork for the concept of love, family, and embracing human empathy is the point regardless of the world around us, which was an absolutely lovely message. But again, it did have to bring the concept back down to earth, go smaller, go quieter, focus on the characters and their individual stakes as a family, and then that conclusion was able to be reached in a way that felt earned. As far as reaching deep into the cinematic attic and dusting off characters and actors from films of the past, I'm reminded of the Kodak Carousel episode of Mad Men.
Nostalgia. It's delicate, but potent.
Spider-Man, both the newest live action and the animated multiverse versions, made this work well, but only by taking those quiet moments and delivering the counterpart characters in ways that made sense and furthered the story and progression of our main character's arc. Nostalgia can be potent, but it is tricky. Fan service can be so much fun, but it can also feel cheap and hollow if it appears even 1% pandering. As much as I loved seeing Michael Keaton reprise his Bruce Wayne Batman role, I couldn't help but feel like it wasn't my Batman. That is, not the Batman of 1989 I grew up with, collecting his trading cards and wearing out the VHS tape, watching it over and over. That could be for many reasons. The discrepancies in the way the character moved or talked, or the pretty blatant callback lines that just felt a bit out of place.
You want to get nuts? Let's get nuts.
But I think more than anything, it was Gotham. We're dealing with the multiverse, so just in duck-amuck fashion, logic dictates that there's an infinite number of Michael Keaton Batmen. And when I see him put in a universe where Gotham looks like just any other major city, my brain tells me it's not the Tim Burton Batman I grew up with. No industrial pipes releasing steam twisted around odd, archaic Gothic architecture, giving Gotham the look of a slumbering ancient beast. Nope, just skyscrapers and Panera breads. The stills released of the never-to-be-seen Batgirl look more like the Gotham that I remember. So if it's not the Gotham I grew up with, it's not the Bruce Wayne I grew up with. And then, what nostalgia chords are really being hit? It's just someone else wearing the face. And with that immersion broken, it felt more and more like hollow fan service. I had fun, but it felt hollow. Delicate, but potent, but delicate. So what's the solution? A lot of people are positing lowering the stakes. I agree with that. But I think more importantly, superhero filmmakers need to lower the volume on everything. When I think of peak hero media in film or television, I can't help but look squarely at Marvel's Daredevil show on Netflix, particularly seasons 1 and 3. The beauty of that show was its simplicity. Every unbelievable concept was dealt with on a grounded level. Every conflict came from natural elements of the characters. The world felt real and foreboding. The drama was heavy, the friendships felt, the action visceral, the duality of the protagonist and the antagonist dancing in perfect harmony. Daredevil and Wilson Fisk were the mirror image of each other, both wanting to legitimately help elevate Hell's Kitchen, but in such different ways, causing internal strife in each one as they questioned their own motivations and methods. It was small and quiet when it needed to be, and during the brief moments it allowed itself to raise the volume, it did it in a way that was believable and terrifying. The good time I had watching it was met with an emotional resonance that was anything but hollow, and it all came down to the writing of the characters and the thoughtfulness given to that quiet. The solution to bigger, grander, louder, more should be obvious. It's smaller, simpler, quieter, less. Not just in stakes, but in scope. We have no more universes left to hold a knife to. Maybe it's time to see some bloody knuckles scraping the cold hard concrete again.